For those of you who might not know me, I'm James Tawatao, Chief Instructor of Las Vegas Shotokan Karate. On behalf of myself, my family, and the entire Las Vegas Shotokan Karate Dojo, we would like to extend our love and sincere condolences to Charlotte, Stephanie, and their entire family for the loss of their loving husband and father, Joe. As you could tell from my outfit, my connection to Joe was through karate. Unfortunately, some of us cannot be there in person to celebrate the life of Joe. But please know that our love and spirit are with all of you. In this video, I will share messages and stories from some of his close friends from our dojo or karate school. And you will see the profound impact Joe had on each of us. I always admired Joe and respected Joe for his friendship and qualities. He was a man of integrity and honor. Joe was a giant man, not only because of his physical presence, as many of you who have met him in person know, but also because of his actions and his words. He was humble, respectful, and always willing to learn. He was always willing to help others, always willing to give good advice, and was always willing to share his knowledge. Joe's humbleness was evident when he first started training at our dojo. He wore a white belt, even though he had already achieved his black belt in another style of karate, and he was already an instructor. Joe and I actually reminisced about this when Scott Baudry, my wife Judy, and I went to visit him at the hospital just a few days before his passing. By wearing a white belt, Joe showed respect, humility, and the willingness to learn. In so doing, Joe embodied the spirit of karate, and he honored not only our teacher, Master Ozawa, whose picture is behind me there, but also his previous teachers. Joe fit right in and quickly became a part of our karate family. We swiftly became friends and have remained friends ever since. The bond of friendship that you forge when you train in karate together is strong because of the shared hardship. You sweat and train hard together, you fight hard together, you share meals and laughter and many more. Even though Joe had stopped training karate at some point, he was always there for us whenever we needed him. He was there whenever we visited the gravesite of Master Ozawa, our beloved teacher, and was always there to help and support me, my family, and the dojo during the Ozawa Cup karate tournament that I hosted every year. Joe's legacy will live on through the many lives he touched. His example of how a person training karate should act will continue to inspire us. We'll miss him dearly, but we'll carry his memory and his lessons with us always. Thank you, Joe, for being part of our lives and our karate family. We will cherish the memories and strive to live by the principles you demonstrated so effortlessly. Rest in peace, my friend. I will now read some letters that a few of our black belts who have known Joe for quite some time sent to me. I asked them to send letters so that they will be part of this and not just myself. This is from Eric Andrini, a black belt in our dojo. I'm very sad to hear that Joe passed. It has to be 40 years plus since I first met Joe and started training in 1988, but knew him and Stephanie before that. He always kind of scared the heck out of me, obviously. But as I got to know him in Charlotte, he was the most mellow and fair guy. He pushed me to train hard and used to take notes about Stephanie and myself to train harder. I really lost touch with the family, but will always have a special place in my heart. Funny thing, he was always cleaning his pistol whenever I would come over to their house to say Steph. That was from Eric Andrini. This is by Vashel Tawataw, my nephew, also a black belt at our dojo. Hey, Uncle, I hope this letter finds you in peace, though I know we're both carrying the weight of loss in our hearts. I wanted to write to you and share my deepest gratitude, especially for introducing me to Kuya Joe all those years long ago when we first arrived in the United States. I'll never forget that moment in 1986. You threw Mizani and I straight into karate, and that's when I met this towering, serious, almost intimidating figure named Kuya Joe. At the time, he seemed larger than life, and honestly, a little scary. But as we spent more time with him, it became clear he was just a gentle giant with a heart as big as his presence. One of the memories that still makes me laugh today is how you and Kuya Joe came up with a brilliant plan to have us ride in the back of his tiny truck bed after karate training. My brother, Sidney, and I would pile in the back, brace ourselves for the icy wind as we cruised down I-15 to North Las Vegas in the dead of winter. We used to freeze our butts off back there. Can you imagine trying to do something like that now? Ha ha! Those were different times, but they were great times. And those rides became etched in my memory as some of the most unforgettable and bonding experiences of our youth. To me, Kuya Joe wasn't just a mentor or a karate instructor. Like you and the rest of my senpais, he was family, another uncle who helped shape who I am today. So, to Kuya Joe, may you rest peacefully in God's kingdom. Thank you for the lessons, the laughter, the discipline, and those freezing cold truck rides. You will always be remembered with love and gratitude. Until we meet again, sir, Vashel and Mizani. Just to explain, the words kuya or kuyang that Vashel used is an honorific title that we use in the Philippines. It is used in front of the name when talking about or addressing a person who is older than you to show respect. For example, I will address my older brother Larry, Kuyang Larry, and never just Larry when talking about him or whenever I call him. And the word senpai is a Japanese word. In karate, we use it as an honorific word that is used when addressing someone who is ahead of you in karate. That's someone who can help you and guide you with your karate training, and not just someone who trained a few months before you. So senpai is normally reserved to address more senior students. You will hear the word senpai in more of these letters. The next letter is from Greg Parker, another black belt in our dojo. Senpai Joe. I met Senpai Joe in 1991 when I joined the Las Vegas Shotokan karate family. Big, burly, no BS. Joe was very intimidating when you first meet him. One look and you know he would be a tough opponent to beat and even harder to earn respect from. But once you got there, Joe was one of the kindest, most generous people ever, willing to give his time, knowledge, wisdom, and advice to help us all become better. All of us that knew him have many Senpai Joe stories to tell, but most important is that we did know him and have those stories to cherish and pass on to others. Senpai, you are missed. Greg Parker. Next is by Eric Ducro, another black belt from our dojo. I met Senpai Joe in 1998 when I very first started training. It was my second introductory class. This means that Eric had just done one class and this will be his second class ever. He walked onto the floor and retied my belt before saying anything to the class. He was an imposing figure. He was more direct and had a faster pace on the dojo floor than the prior instructor. A few minutes in, I was wondering, what had I gotten myself into? That fear had subsided quickly, however, once his personality started to come through in his teaching. Senpai's passion for karate was obvious, and just as obvious was his desire for this group of brand new students to succeed in our lessons. From that initial trepidation to getting to know Senpai Joe as a martial artist and eventually as a friend, I learned a great deal from him and very early in my exposure into karate. So many of the things he did and how he carried himself in the dojo, I absorbed and eventually used myself when it was time for me to be the one teaching the brand new students. I learned how to, as a big, imposing person myself, set students at ease while setting them up to achieve the same success I had enjoyed. Those lessons were learned in no small part due to Senpai Joe. It is because of him, as well as the whole Las Vegas Shotokan karate family, that I am the man I am today. I will always remember that first week on the floor with Senpai Joe. It had a profound effect. Make no mistake of not only mine, but of all the lives this man touched and set on a better path. You are already missed, Senpai. Eric Ducro. Next is by James Whitehead, known to most of us as JW. I actually met Joe in very early 1984 when he was teaching karate at the racquetball club behind Circus Circus. I was looking for a dojo and a mutual friend was training there with him. He was very imposing at first impression. Our next meeting was in 1986, I believe at Shihan Ozawa's tournament at the Frontier Hotel. To my surprise, he recognized me right away and we have been friends ever since. Always had a smile when he would greet you. He never looked down at anyone. A consummate teacher who was always willing to share knowledge and experience. He has been there through all the tough times in the dojo, losing friends and family. Now we honor him not with sadness, but great thanks for sharing part of his life with us. You are greatly missed, Joe. It's been a true honor. JW. This is from Ray Braganza, a senior instructor in our dojo. I met Joe when he and some of his students started training in the Las Vegas Shotokan Karate Dojo at the Commercial Center in the 1980s. He was already a karate instructor then, but he put on a white belt when he started training with us. Right there and then, plus the way he conducted himself while training, led me to believe that he was there to learn traditional Shotokan Karate Do, not just to learn how to kick and punch. Joe was one of those dedicated karatekas who internalized and lived the Dojo-kun. It's been an honor knowing him and his family and training alongside him in the dojo. He will be missed. Rest in peace, my friend, Ray and Patty Braganza. As a reference, Dojo-kun are the five precepts of Master Gichin Funakoshi, the founder of Shotokan Karate. Master Funakoshi is the first person who formally introduced karate to Japan from the island of Okinawa. He is Master Ozawa's teacher. Dojo-kun is an oath that students of Shotokan Karate recite at the end of each class. They are rules that guide us as students of Shotokan Karate. So as you can see from the letters that I just read, Joe was imposing and sometimes scary when you first meet him. However, you'll find that after you get to know him and he gets to know you, his towering presence that might have intimidated those who did not know him well, beneath that imposing exterior lay a heart of gold, a man who is willing to help others. So, as we gather to celebrate Joe's life, let us remember the laughter, the love, and the countless memories he gifted us. Let's carry forward the lessons he taught us and honor his memory by living our lives with the same kindness, generosity, and joy that he showed us. Let's live with passion and always be ready with a kind word or a helping hand. In doing so, we'll keep his spirit alive in our hearts. Let's honor his memory by embracing the values we held so dear, and let us find comfort in the knowledge that his spirit lives on through the countless lives he touched. We love you, Joe. You are in our hearts forever.
A tribute to Joe Stanley. The author Flavia Whedon once said, "Some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some people stay for a while and move our souls to dance. They awaken us to a new understanding, leave footprints on our hearts, and we are never, ever the same." As a white belt, I'll never forget looking into the mirror on the dojo wall and seeing an intensely focused, muscular mountain of a man standing on the far right with the other black belts, waiting to mokuso. When Sensei transitioned the class to Gohon Kumite, it didn't take long for me to find myself in front of this guy who was much larger than he appeared in the mirror. Sensei commanded, "Gidambarai, hajime!" As I stepped forward to punch Chudan, this massive guy moved lightly on his feet, easily blocking my arm with his tree trunk-sized forearm and moving my entire body. When it was my turn to block his Chudan punch, I recalled Sensei sharing's Newton's third law. For every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. I learned immediately that Joe was the exception to Newton's third law. My full force Gedambrai did not budge his outstretched arm. I tried to block harder the second time. He sensed my frustration but maintained his ferocity. He smiled only after my third failed block, and I think he even chuckled. While the first time I met Joe is forever etched in my memory, it was a decade of training in the dojo, traveling to tournaments, going on road trips, eating at Pizza Hut or Osaka restaurant, and spending long weekends together at the Ozawa Cup that blessed my life with his friendship. I respected him not only for fulfilling the precepts of Dojo-kun, but also for how he lived as a person, a loving husband and father, a person who would not hesitate to help a friend or a stranger, a courageous and kind man who would listen intently and willingly share his wisdom, a person who made people laugh with his observations about life. Though I didn't have a chance to say goodbye to Joe in person in his final days, I find comfort in knowing that our bond transcends time and space. Joe, your spirit remains with me and all those you have touched. I'm keeping you and your loved ones, especially your beloved wife Charlotte, your wonderful daughter Stephanie, and your son-in-law Mark, in my thoughts and prayers. Thank you, Joe, for leaving a footprint on my heart.